Hello everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here today to talk about a very special movie. And it's special in a certain way that probably nobody else would understand because it's a very strange. I think everyone really has to watch this movie for themselves. I think they have to experience it for themselves, because this movie that I watched last night, it really wasn't a movie, it was an experience. And it led to some very hectic dreams. I mean, here's the thing. Movies sometimes, like, they'll affect your dreams. They'll affect your sleep. Like, there's been some times where I've seen some movies and you go to sleep after you watch them, and they, for some reason, you have like really good dreams, and you have like really, really nice. You wake up and you feel really refreshed, and you feel a certain way. This movie was the opposite, where I went to sleep and it was a terrible sleep. I've been having terrible sleep lately, in particular, for a number of reasons. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get into that because that's not relevant. But this movie really caused me to have just waking up and just having these weird dreams that just, and it reminded me of the film. And I thought, like, oh, this is strange. The movie actually gives you dreams similar to the ones in the film. That's a big red flag right there. Because, okay, now I'm going to introduce what the movie is and talk about why I watched it, and then get into more of what I'm talking about. I am reviewing today Eye of the Devil. Eye of the Devil. Just Eye of the Devil. And it was originally called 13, and that will be coming up as another point of discussion in this video. The reason why I watched it is because things have been happening in the past couple of weeks, the past month, and I think that it felt like it was an important film to watch for me, and it felt like I needed to watch it on this certain day, at this certain time, and it was a perfect experience. I had pizza, I had this nice Mountain Dew Voodoo flavor, it was like orange or something, and I wanted to really do a month on the lovely, the beautiful, the magnificently talented, forever angel Sharon Tate. That's the reason why I watched this movie. It's her first really movie. It says introducing Sharon Tate, and I really wanted to do a month dedicated to her because I felt like I've been studying a lot of older films recently to make my own film, because I've been watching less new films, watching more old films to try to be influenced by those instead of by the modern ones. And in order to do that, I have to pick themes. And it just so happened that certain things have been happening for the past couple of weeks that I'm not going to get into in this video. And I wanted to do this month. I think that it's the perfect time and the perfect place. But the thing is that then I got to thinking, and I thought, Sharon doesn't deserve a month. She deserves a year. And so, for the next year, every month, I'm going to review something of hers at an unknown date in the month. And so next month or I guess, yeah, September, because this movie, I watched it, it was so close to being September, so close. But for September, I think that I will go all the way back and review Barabbas. And I already reviewed Give Us Barabbas with fucking little kid Richard Thomas earlier this year. And I think that that was another sign. And so I think that was another hint. And so now I'm going to finally watch the quote-unquote OG Barabbas with her as like an extra in the film. So, anyways, it is time to start Sharon Tate year. This movie, Eye of the Devil, as I said, it's an experience. And I was sleeping and having these hectic dreams similar to the ones in the movie. And all I could think about was, wow, this movie was it really didn't hold back on being what it actually was. Like, movies nowadays, they're so simplistic and they're so dull and dumb and they're dumbed down because they think their audience is really dumb. And the movies just aren't complex. They don't have really anything going on. They'll talk about, like, one little tiny topic. Like, I'm just thinking about another movie like this that I watched this year called, I can't remember what it was called, but it was about, like, this girl's mom gets turned in like a golem or something, and it's like, it was just so basic and so dumb and bland, and there was nothing to it, and it's because there was no magic in the film. This movie, this was not a movie. Eye of the Devil was not a movie. It was a spell. It was a horrible, horrible spell. And the way that I could tell was having those dreams. If I wouldn't have had those dreams, I still would have said that this is not a film. It's an experience because you're watching a ritual happen through an hour and a half to 2 hour length. Now, the movie starts off, and one of the great things about this spell, I'm going to just call it a spell from now on, as much as possible to sort of take down the fact of calling it a movie, because I really don't think it is in the slightest. One of the great things, though, is I really love the camera work. I really love, this movie is not afraid to move around. It's sort of like disorienting the way that the camera, it sort of floats around and it glides all over the place, and the characters, you're taken with them with the shaky camera, and but the shots, even though they're shaky, they're very stable and except for how they want to be a little shaky. You know what I mean? Like, the shots are very smooth. And it's funny because people always talk about, like, how Halloween was supposedly the first movie to use a Steadicam. It's what they call it. This movie, this spell, Eye of the Devil, it has shots that are way steadier than the shots in Halloween. It has shots that are so smooth that it's ridiculous, like the way that it's almost like you're flying. You're flying watching this movie. It's very dreamlike. The spell is very, very dreamlike and very weird, and it definitely gives you a weird feeling just off of the camera work alone. Most of the spell is also very hazy and foggy. That was another thing that added to the great atmosphere that the spell had, was that, like, every single shot almost had fog in it in some way. Every shot had this gothic feel to it. Every interior had this really, like, dungeony, like, everything in this was just so perfectly shot. It was such a perfect spell. And that's the sad thing, is that you know what resulted from making this movie, and you know what the repercussion is for having made the film. It's not good. It's the opposite of good. And to just think that, like, it's hard to look at movies the same way after watching this spell, because the dead giveaway in this movie that I want to talk about, because we will get into the story and everything, but believe me, I know I'm taking a long time. I'm just trying to be slow with my words so that I articulate everything as well as possible, and I don't just go because I think my temporary suspicion review was a little bit like frantic and that's what I sounded like in that review, I think. So the dead giveaway in this movie was, the spell was the characters, the villains of the film, because there are multiple villains. The cult in the film, this cult of evil, disgusting, retarded pagans, the leader of them was Donald Pleasance. And I do think that's one of the... And see, there's a connection to Halloween right there. I do think that he's one of the best parts about the spell. His performance is so good. He's so creepy and he's so perfect in this role. Like, really, he was just like so... He was perfect. Like, he really does an amazing job in every role that he plays. Like, everything. He's so good. I love watching him in any movie. And so that was sort of surprising because obviously, and we will get to talking about Sharon's performance, but he was a surprise. Everyone in this movie, in this spell, was a surprise. Every single cast member, the main guy playing Philippe, he was incredible. He gave an Oscar-worthy performance, in my opinion. And the wife, Deborah Kerr, was the actress. I can't remember the wife's name. She did an amazing, amazing job. And, normally we'll talk about her character. Her character, normally you would hate this type of character. And it really reminded me a lot of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, the way that they handled things with those shows. And so we'll get to talking about that. So the dead giveaway of why this spell was very, very bad and how it really made me think about everything in it, about the contents, about the repercussions of even watching the movie and giving it energy all these years later, is there's a scene where Donald Pleasance is talking to the wife, and the wife is talking about, like, I respect your weird ass, bizarro, dipshit religion. I respect your stupid sacrificing religion, but I don't understand it, and I want to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. I want to understand, like, why is it that there's rooms of this castle where you're going into them and putting a dead dove on a table and going around the table in black hoods and doing a black magic ritual. I want to understand why. And Donald Pleasance says, you don't have to understand. That's the thing. You don't have to understand. And that was the dead giveaway right there for the whole spell. Is that it is, as Sharon Tate's character says in the film, they're all a bunch of hypocrites. All these people who made the spell, all the people behind the making of it up there, the ones who were really in charge, all the people involved, they're all a bunch of hypocrites. Because the thing is that they say that you don't have to understand, but I'm telling you guys, they go into excruciating detail with these rituals, with this magical bullshit, and I say bullshit because it's just a bunch of childish bullshit that these people do. And it's queer, and it just, ugh. It's like, God, these fucking black magic magicians are a bunch of losers. Like, they're just a bunch of fucking losers, like, these people. Like, like, that's really one of the takeaways from the film, is that, you know, they're doing all these asinine things, like, they're, like, walking around in circles and fucking marching in, going into the forest, riding on horses in this, like, military march fashion, and doing, like, these stupid things, acting like they're a bunch of children playing a game, doing some sort of a school play. It's like, you guys are a bunch of fucking losers, like, with this shit. And then you know, you kill someone, and then afterwards you're marching, and you're marching through this vineyard, and you have all these people, and they're like, ooh, thank you, ooh, thank you, ooh. And it's like, God, these people really need to get a life. Like, get a hobby. Get something to do. Like, go get laid. Go have some fun. Go dancing. Go listen to some fucking music. Like, what is it with this fucking childish ass shit, walking around in these fucking hoods? They got fucking black panties on their faces. They got fucking black stockings on their faces so that you can't see what their faces look like. Like, God, these guys are some nitwits. These guys, like, these guys take the cake. I mean, I've seen some stupid people in movies before. I've never seen people as stupid as the ones in this movie. And you know what the thing is that the people in this spell are real. These are all real people that they based all these characters off of, for sure. And, you know, the types of people who were responsible for making this spell, these are the types of people. And the whole thing with, you don't have to understand. That's the beauty of it, man. You don't have to understand. It's like, then why did you go into painful detail describing these? You got a fucking real magician, some fucker named Alex Saunders. You got some fucker named Alex Saunders to come over and tell and give you real details on real occult rituals, retard rituals, I should say, and you put that much thought, that much detail into the making of this movie. Like, everything has to be accurate. Like, we don't care if a black person plays a black person in a movie at this point, but we really care about the details of this occult ritual and if they are accurate or not. That's how you guys know that this was not a movie, it was a spell. Is the painful, excruciating, boring detail. I mean, these people, they have to be on drugs or in a trance, because if I was doing these rituals, I would fall the fuck asleep. Like, these boring rituals of just walking around in silence and sitting around a table like a bunch of squares with a fucking dead animal on the table and some candles. I mean, this is lame. This is lame. And all for what? For some fucking grapes? For some grapes so that you can make wine and you can get drunk off your ass and fucking rant about the minorities and stuff? Because you know that that's what these people do in this movie. You know that this is some secluded area, this weird, obscure French area with this little castle in the sky, their little eyes wide shut castle with their fucking horses and shit, and their little toads on lily pads. Oh, God, we got a lot to talk about with this movie, and I am going to talk about every single detail, because you know why? Because this spell is important. It is an important spell to study because this is an evil spell made by evil people. Okay? I mean, this is bad. I mean, if I went to see this in the movies in the 60s, I would immediately write a letter to Miss to Miss Tate and tell her, "Dear Miss Tate, please do not act in any more movies. You do not want to be involved with these types of people. They are in a club, and you are never going to be in their club as an equal with them. P.S. Can you please send me an autographed picture? XOXO. Love, Marco." Okay, that's exactly what I would have done if I would have seen this movie in the theaters. I would have gone up to the ticket taker and I would have said, "Hey, beatnik, hey, hippie face, fuck face, give me my money back. I do not want to contribute money. I do not want to give money to this type of spell. I do not want to give money energy to this type of spell. I do not want to give that, because money is energy that you pass to people, you pass to places. I do not want to give that to this evil, disgusting spell that this spell was." So this is bad. Like, this gave me a really bad feeling. I tried to have fun with it. By the end of it, I was emotionally exhausted by watching this and just feeling like this is very uncomfortable to watch. It just gave me the feeling of, like, it's sad because people saw this and they thought this is a real movie. They thought this is a movie they made to entertain us. They thought this is a movie that they made because, they're movie makers. They're Hollywood movie makers. And it's like, no, no way, Jose. Okay, but God. So the plot of this movie is that you got this racist fucking guy, Felipe. He's some wealthy, high up figure of society, and he came from this very secluded area in France with these weirdos, this weird town, this weird village of occultist weirdos, and they all make money off of a vineyard. They all work at a vineyard together, like a bunch of squares, and they're all a bunch of geezers, and they all look like they're just the most lamest people on the planet. Like, it really is like, even like, how small towns are just filled with a bunch of ugly losers and filled with people who are just like, they're gossiping weirdos who don't like outsiders. Like this place right here in France, this is one step below small towns. Like, small towns are like heaven compared to this fucking place. This weird French castle area. Like, this place is where you go to die. This place is where you go to keel over and die. This place is where you go and you don't come back. It's not a fun place to go. It's not a nice place. It's not a beautiful place. It's an ugly, gross place. It sort of reminds me of, and now another connection to this spell. It really reminds me of Night of Dark Shadows and Dark Shadows in general, because just the way you have this huge castle, you have all these things about family connections and how all these people are related and connected in some way, and I will get into talking about the connections to Night of Dark Shadows as well, because there were some strange things with that too. So the plot of the movie, though, is that you got this guy, Felipe! And he's got a mustache, and so that's how you know that he's serious. And he's a serious man, he's a serious actor. He did such a good job, though. Like, I loved his performance. I really did. I thought, like, God, I want to watch more movies with this guy. Like, this guy's really good. Like, I wish the actors nowadays were as good as this actor. But, the actors in this day and age, they took their work seriously, because They knew that it was more than just about putting on costumes. They knew that this was not really movie making, it was magic making. And so when people who are magicians, even though they're a bunch of squares and retards, they put more effort into their work than movie makers, I don't know, like they're just a bunch of weirdo artists who pick up a camera and shoot people walking around with costumes. Like, that's the difference between magicians and movie makers. And that's another thing of how you know that this movie, because the thing is that there were movies around this time period that came out the same time that were about the same subjects, and they were nowhere near as good or as well put together as this spell, because they were movies. This was not a movie, it was a spell. And so there was different energy and effort put into what mattered and didn't matter. And that's how you know the truth about this Eye of the Devil. So let's get through with Felipe. Felipe, he's got kids, he's got a wife. His wife is pretty hot. I mean, she's got a bun. You guys know how much I love buns, like any type of buns. Like I love buns, I love hair buns, and I love cinnamon buns, I love Hostess buns. I just love like any type of buns is what I just love the most out of everything in the whole universe. Like even more so than like, I don't know, like a starving puppy in Alaska. Like I love buns just so much that like if you give me a nice big wide pair of buns, I'll much prefer to save those buns than to save the little lost puppy in Alaska. So that's what I'm saying, is that I love buns. And the wife in this movie, Deborah Kerr, she's got a bun. And she's pretty cool, and her kids are cool too. And so the dad is called, Felipe, he's called back to this weirdo place by these weirdo people. And he's, you already know some shit's fucked up, because he's sitting there, he's drawing a weird drawing on a piece of paper, and at the same time his son is walking up to this harp player, and he's almost like in a trance, and it's like, okay, that's enough. I'm not going to that place, for sure. If I'm the dad, I'm not going to that place. Even more for sure if I'm the wife, knowing that these people are a bunch of rapists too. You know what I mean? You know who I mean. They're a bunch of rapists, and you know as well as I do. As soon as this family, is what happened was the dad wanted to go there by himself, because he's like, they really don't need to go there. They don't need to see this happen. I need to do this because I believe in it, but my family, they can stay here and live a normal life and have normal things happen to them. But the family goes there. And immediately when they go there, like, everyone is looking at them. Like, it is the creepiest thing ever when they're driving into this town, and every single person in the entire village is looking at this family, and as soon as that happened, I would have left right then and there. Like, it's just creepy. It's so incredibly creepy and nightmarish, and just not worth my time, not worth going there for, what's going to happen there? Like, I'm going to stay in a castle and have some sandwiches. Like, really? Is that really worth it when you're dealing with these weird, creepy types of people? These weird squares who like to dress up in stockings and robes and run around saying, would you while they chant to their fucking trillion fake gods that they have. Like, fucking, they must have like a god of grapes. I mean, come on. Like, they have, like, what's their god even called in this movie? Like, Bendangle Tambada? Like, what was their god called again? Like, it was like the 13 dancers of Bindankabeda. Like, I can't even remember with these people. Like, they're just so lame. But as soon as all these people looked at the family, I was like, you know that all these cultists, you know that the first thing that came to their mind was we need to put some roofies in these people's fucking food so that we can have like a eyes wide shut orgy with them. And like, that's immediately what you could tell from these people's faces, is that these are evil people. And it doesn't take an hour and a half of going around looking at documents and things to figure that out. Like, the wife in this movie, she's a little slow. She's a little, I don't know, like, sometimes in the movie, I thought, she has to be possessed, because any normal person would GTFO. Like, there's so many points, like, the first night that they stay in this castle, not even the first night, the first fucking second that they are about to enter this castle of horrors, this castle of Rothschilds and all those loser-ass retard people, this fucking lame castle, before they even enter the castle, a dove is shot with an arrow and it lands right in front of the family. I mean, as soon as that happens, you're leaving. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the dumbest idiot in Texas. You're leaving that area immediately. Who cares if Felipe is there? Okay, Felipe, you can stay here with the dead dove worshippers and you can have fun with your little mustache. You better shave your little mustache and keep it nice and trimmed. Because then, if it's not trimmed, you're going to end up looking like a normal person. You're not going to look like a high-class gentleman anymore. You're going to look like a normal person. So, basically, the movie is just this family staying in this castle with these weird people. I mean, let's go through the cast of characters and really dissect them literally and figuratively. So first off, you got the wife. The wife in this movie, one of the things that I liked about the movie was that even though she was pretty slow, let's be honest, the wife in this spell, it was nice because the movie let her be stupid at certain points, but then it let her be smart at certain points too. And so I really loved how it's like, I don't mind if characters in horror movies do stupid things, because otherwise you wouldn't have a horror movie. Like, you wouldn't have a horror movie if the people in Texas Chainsaw Massacre just drove off like normal people and didn't go to some abandoned house with fucking zebra wallpaper and shit. Like, just normal things would happen. This type stuff that happens in horror movies, as Sharon has said herself about violence, it's a very unnatural thing. It's the most unnatural thing in the world. And the stuff that happens in horror movies, there's a reason why these are movies and why they're not real life. Is because normal people don't get themselves into these strange situations. They just leave, they just do, they're just like, okay, this is not right. Something about this, you got this Donald Pleasance character, he's walking around with like this giant hat on, he looks ridiculous, every scene he looks like he's just took a hit of a joint. I mean, he just does not look like a good person. He looks like a very strange, peculiar person who you do not want to leave your children with. And he probably has little suckable candies in his pocket. And he's probably the type who then says, oh, I have another suckable candy in my pocket too. But You know what I mean? Like, this is not a good character. He's a very evil character. But the wife, I really loved her character a lot. Like, she was so cool because she did do stupid stuff, but she also was very smart. And I really loved how loyal she was to Felipe, her husband, and about how she really wanted to help him. You know, she didn't abandon her husband and go back to Europe like certain people in real life. You know, she stayed by Felipe and tried to save him, and she literally was like right by him near the end of the movie when something bad happens to him, which this is all spoilers because this is really, you know, it's an experience. You're going to have an experience regardless, you know. It's not a movie, so it's not the same type of thing as like spoiling a movie where it's like, oh, you spoiled the movie. Like, no, this is different right here. So I really loved her character a lot. I thought that, you know, even though obviously this year is all about Sharon and all about honoring Sharon and remembering her and trying to take inspiration from her, someone who's a lot better than I'll ever be, and someone who's a very talented, very beautiful soul, and, you know, it's all about her. Though, I really liked this wife character. I thought she was so cool. She was such an awesome protagonist. I was so glad that she was the protagonist after a while, because she was willing to do things that I would never have been willing to do. I never would have gone into the forest with these people walking around in their devil robes, playing little weird role-play games, probably hugging trees naked like a fucking Bohemian Grove. I never would have been willing to go to the lengths that she would have gone to, that she went to in this movie, to save Felipe. Like, I'm sorry, but just Felipe's not worth it. Like, he's really not. Like, he's so dumb that he literally has himself sacrificed so that the fucking people at the vineyard can have grapes. Like, guys, this whole movie, spoiler alert, this whole spell is about a bunch of squares and robes sacrificing a guy that they all love and they all know and love him, but they all have to sacrifice him so that they can have grapes. Like, that is just the stupidest thing ever. Like, I gotta be honest. Remember when I ranted about Thor Love and Thunder and about how Gore the dipshit butcher? Remember how I ranted about how this idiot Christian Bale's character, he was so stupid, he's just like sitting around on this planet waiting for his god to give him food and fruit and shit. Like, that's how much of a loser he is. And so then he's like, okay, you won't give me any fruit, I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna kill all the other gods too. Like, God, God, that character's almost as dumb as the people in this movie. But really, those types of people exist. I mean, those types of people were responsible for making this. I mean, that's the funny thing, is that the people who made this spell, they believe everything in this film because they honored every single aspect of this weird ass shit. They practically, this was practically an occult propaganda movie, to the point of where at the end of the movie it's like she's not even gonna bother really to do anything about these evil people. She's just gonna drive off and never come there again. And it's like, okay, see how that works out. It's like, what if you went to Epstein Island? What if you had gone to Epstein Island back in 2000, or 2005, 2010, and you saw all the disgusting shit that went on in that island? Let's say you saw everything happen. Would you just leave and just say, I'm never coming back here again? No, obviously not. You would try to stop that from ever happening again. The types of things that happened on that island, you would try to stop it, right? Like, you're a normal person. You want people to not be sacrificed for some grapes. I mean, that's the funny thing, is like these people are so desperate for their grapes. Like, a person's life is worth it for these people to have themselves grapes. Like, that is just insane. It is insane and stupid. And it's funny because why do you even need to sacrifice? Like, nobody even needs to sacrifice any humans. Obviously, nature does need sacrifice. That's why you have, like, the whole food chain and everything, because everything is sacrificed in one way or another to nature to thrive and survive. But you don't need to kill someone to give sacrifices to nature. Like, I woke up this morning and I heard a bzzz, and I went over to the window. And at the window, there was a spider, and it was eating a fly, and it was killing it, and it was webbing it up, preparing to suck the juices out of the fly. Really gross. And the fly was just like screaming in miserable pain from the spider. And I saw that, and then I looked over outside my window, and I thought, whoa, what's that? And guess what? I have grapes growing at my window. There used to be some grapevines that, they grew along the fence in our house. They grew along kinda. Some grapevines grew a little bit, but somehow, and Safi had no idea how these grapes ended up at my window. This grapevine ended up at my window. But somehow, this grapevine, or something, somehow came all the way up to my window. And now there are full grapes growing outside my window. Guys, I didn't commit any human sacrifices to get those grapes. They just sort of came, like plants do. They grow out of the ground and shit. They just grow like normal things. Like, you don't have to take someone out into the forest and shoot an arrow into them so that grapes can grow. And so that's another thing with this movie, is that when you think with the spell, is that you think about the plot, and you think about how silly it is, the fact that these people are so obsessed with grapes that they're doing this. And that's another red flag for how you know that this is not a movie, it's a spell. Because that's really not what the movie's about. It's not what the spell is about. It is really about something else that I don't even want to talk about, because I don't want to upset anybody about the truth. But let's just say a certain person who is introduced in this film, this was her initiation, and it was her... it was basically like a giant nail hammered into the coffin of her career and her life. Unfortunately, that's what this was all about, and it's sickening, and it really disgusts me to even to have to talk about this and have to, really sound like a weird person, because I'm not a crazy person, and I'm very sane, and I have a very sound mind, but there's some times where you have to, truth is stranger than fiction. And sometimes you really have to, you have to think, there's lots of people. There's lots of people who think, and they're not wrong for thinking, that angels exist. And if all these people around think that angels exist, why is it so hard for them to believe something like this happened? Why is it so hard for them to see what this spell was really all about? You have angels, and then you have this spell that was made physically, and you can physically see the whole thing from front to back. You can see every little detail that they put into this movie, every little detail that they put into making this as accurate as possible, so that this could really be the perfect spell. You can see it was bad. So we have talked about the wife. We have talked about Felipe for the most part. Felipe, he was really cool because you kind of thought maybe he could be redeemed. Maybe he could have some sort of an arc where he says, okay, fuck this shit, I'm leaving. Bye-bye, weirdos. Have fun with your grape growing issues. I'm not going to die so you can have wine and so that you can make money off of your vineyard. F off. I'm going to go live a normal life with my wife with her bun and try to not ever think about this weird place again. But sadly, he is very, 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 very convinced by these people and by this spell. And it's very sad, and it's very tragic and creepy, because at the end of the movie, he is just there's this really, probably my favorite scene of the movie, where his wife talks to him about doing this, and she's begging him, these people are stupid, this is primitive bullshit, this is not, we've moved on, it's 1960s, free love, man, and we don't do shit like this anymore because we're normal people, and we don't have to resort to human sacrifice so that we can grow grapes in our vineyard and shit like that. And he's just so convinced, though, that like nothing she will say will convince him otherwise. And it was just the most amazing scene ever, because it was like you have these two people of completely opposite viewpoints, and they're never ever going to convince each other of their viewpoints. And so there's like the tragedy of seeing these two people arguing, and just it's like just really, really hard to watch, but it's really entertaining at the same time. It's basically like, what if they had done the Nacho sacrifice in Better Call Saul right? Like, what if they had done that storyline in the right way? That's what this was like. It was very powerful. It was very emotional. And another red flag was that she's telling him, like, what, you really believe all this stuff? Like, you're really into this weird shit with these weirdo people around here, like these people who run around with their little role-playing games pretending to be like there's a doctor, and he's like, I attend to the physical needs of these people, I don't attend to the spiritual ones. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's, yeah, okay, you just keep on telling yourself that, because then it turns out he actually is involved with them, and he is a part of their cult as well. And it's like, yeah, that's no surprise. He's a fucking loser, and he's like pretending with this woman. He even sort of makes himself out to look like a good guy by saying, you took this weird milk potion, you took this, what did he call it, like belladonna or something, like you took this potion last night, that's why you have bad dreams. And then he said, never take this witch's brew again. But then he's a part of them. And so, you really see the behavior of the people who made this spell, because that's how they acted, like with this movie, the making of this, saying that like all this stuff is, it's weird. It's like they're very deceptive, they're very two-faced, and so in the way that they're sort of promoting everything that this movie is showing, while also quote-unquote standing against it a little bit. It's sort of like how all the losers in Hollywood with their little Me Too movement, the anti-men movement, aka, which, you already saw another example of why the Me Too movement is terrible, with what that bitch did to Shia LaBeouf, trying to defame him and say that she fired him because she wanted to keep her actresses safe. And it's like, that's just, we all knew, I knew it was a bunch of bullshit, because it's like, really? Like, Shia LaBeouf has made a lot of movies. He's never been accused of being inappropriate on the set of a movie, except for, like, with Fury, he didn't shower and he acted weird in that, but, he didn't abuse any actors on a set. And so the fact that this woman is going around saying, I fired him because I really wanted to keep my actresses safe in these compromising scenes. It's like, and then it turns out that I was right. And then he releases a text that says that he quit the movie. He fucking quit the movie himself because he didn't like the fact that the rehearsal time was rushed. I mean, that is just, that's bizarre. Like, I mean, do you guys see what I mean? But that's what the Me Too movement is all about. It's all about doing this type of stuff to men. It's about defaming men to uplift evil women like this bitch who defamed Shia LaBeouf, and of course Amber Turd, all those types of people. So anyways, where was I? Why was I talking about the Me Too movement again? Shit. And we still have a lot to discuss too. I think this review is going to be pretty long, which I don't care. It's worth it. This movie's special. It's a very special spell, and it deserves the time and attention that it's getting from me. So, let's just circle on back, and okay, I was talking about the scene where they were convincing each other. Yeah, that was a great scene. And the people who made this were very two-faced. Because here's another, I will talk about two more people, and then I will finally get to the person of the year. The person of eternity, really, because the impact that she left with her acting and her I don't know, like, it's like with what The Shining said, where, that they're like events leave impressions on the places they happen in. Like, you have anything that happens anywhere, it leaves an impression on that place. And I really think that Sharon, she left an impression on everyone forever, no matter how many people don't know who she is now, or no matter how many people have forgotten about her and have forgotten about what she had to go through. I do think that she left an eternal impression on people, including me. I mean, I was really, her performance in this movie we will get to, because it was special. It was special, and she is special, and so that's what this is all about. So, but the next person I want to talk about is Christian, because Christian he looks like a blonde Dan Stevens, and he was probably the scariest character in the film, because he was pure evil. He didn't have any redeeming qualities to him. He was sociopathic. He carries around this bow and arrow. He just walks around with his bow and arrow shooting things and pretending like he's some sort of like a Robin Hood renegade, but he's really just another cog in the cultist machine. And there's this really intense scene where he shoots another arrow at these people while they're with Sharon, aka, what was her name? It was like Opidil or Opidil or Odell or something. I can't remember, so I'm just gonna call her Sharon, so that I don't sound like an idiot just trying to keep on saying, like, what is she, O'Doul's? Is she the beer brand O'Doul's? No. But they're with her, and there's already another scene with her that's going on we will talk about. And then Christian interrupts them and he shoots another arrow at them, I think. And he comes over and the mom is she's not having it. And she's saying, you need to stop it. You need to never, ever, ever do anything funny with your bow and arrow again, or else I am going to report you to the police. And it was the most scariest, most intense thing that happened when he has no reaction to what she's saying whatsoever. And he's standing there and he raises up his bow and arrow and he's gonna shoot this mother. And he's just standing there just aching to shoot her with his bow and arrow. And then she runs inside with the kids. That was an intense sequence that I did not see coming. You just expected him to be like, okay, whatever, and then put his bow and arrow away. But he does not care that she knows about. That's another creepy thing in the spell, is that all the people don't care whether the mom knows about it or not. And that's what I was saying with like the whole thing about you don't have to understand. The whole movie, all the characters do everything they can to make her understand. And by the end of it, of course, they literally have like this video game style simulation where she leaves one room to go to another, where people explain to her what's going on. She leaves into another room where people explain to her what's going on. And it's like they really wanted her to understand what was going on. I'm sorry, but they really did. They really wanted her to get the gist of what they were doing. And so Christian, I'm trying to think, and one of the weird things though is that I was sort of curious about is that at the end of this movie, when Felipe is sacrificed by being shot with a bow and arrow in the forest, his character, Christian, he seems to be, he's like a zombie. And it's almost like he's in a trance and like doesn't even know what he is doing. Or it is almost like they had to drug him so that he could commit this horrible act and so that he could kill someone. It really didn't seem like he was himself. Like, it was really weird. They were like feeling his face, like they were waking him up and putting him into the, activating him, you know what I mean? Like Manchurian Candidates. And so that was the other thing, is that this movie was very, very predictive and very reminiscent of all these assassinations that have been committed, where you have people who are they're the MK Ultra assassins, and they're all activated, they're under this trance, like, the David Lee Chapman who killed John Lennon in front of the Rosemary's Baby building, that guy, he was like under a trance when he committed that act. And, that's sort of what this movie showed, though. And so I thought that was very interesting, that they also showed this trance-like zombie assassination type of angle too. I mean, they really just went into the most they told you everything. This entire spell was just a confession of their mental retardation. So, now that, okay, I'm going to take a quick break because Safi, she needs help with the laundry. And so right after that, I will continue, because I still need to talk about the woman of the hour, the woman of the year, and the woman of a lifetime. So, be right back. Of course, you guys don't even know that I'm going to be right back, only because I told you. That's how you guys know. So now we will talk about the most important topic with this spell, which is the real purpose behind it and why it was made and who it was made for, who made it, everything. This dark spell. The first thing because after I watched the movie, I went and I watched this little special. They did a little special featurette with this movie called All Eyes on Sharon. And of course, let's just talk about the title alone, because the movie was originally supposed to be called 13. But then they changed it to Eye of the Devil. What does All Eyes on Sharon, what does that tell you? Well, there is a part in this movie where, they even show their typical little, their little gay symbol, the all-seeing eye. Like, ooh, look, it's an eye. It's a person's eye. It's the all-seeing eye. Ooh, it's so scary. Not. Like, there's genuinely people out there who are scared of an eye. And they're like, ooh, no, I saw an eye. I'm going to have nightmares and I'm going to go wee-wee in my bed. Like, that's how scared some people get of this stupid little eye that these robed freaks use in their little spells and movies and things. And you see that in this movie. And so, the All Eyes on Sharon thing, really, to me, it represents not only people's eyes, but eyes in the other world, particularly the devil's eyes. The movie's called Eye of the Devil. Then you say all eyes on Sharon, not just, because let's just face it, when anyone in the world says, eyes on me, hey, class, eyes on me, or hey, everyone around here in this little fake imaginary circle of bullshit, eyes on me. Nobody ever says all eyes on me. So that right there is telling you. And that right there, that's just the beginning. Okay? And I know I sound a little bit fruity now, but it's just the reality of things. And I'm sorry if people, if you find this too far out, or too scary, or too, maybe like just weird and dumb, then just leave, because you're not going to be able to comprehend what I'm saying. You're not going to be able to understand the truth of the matter. And so let's get further into it, because you know how I said they're two-faced, because they are very two-faced, these people, these, I don't even want to call them satanic freaks. Like, they're just freaks. Who cares about whatever they believe in? They're all a bunch of freaks and frauds and lunatics in robes. They're all a bunch of overgrown children in robes. That's all they are. They're very two-faced, and they'll say one thing and then they'll do the other. They'll say one thing and then they'll mean the other. And it's really just, with these movies that they make, it's all about rubbing it in your face as an audience member. It's sort of the same thing as SJW agendas nowadays. The way that they like to rub everything in your face. They like to make these movies just to spread their stupid political messages, their hateful anti-men messages that they like to spread. The same thing is going on with this movie, where it's really just all about doing a spell and rubbing it in your face that they're doing a spell. Now, the way that she was cast was that she was auditioning for Petticoat Junction, which I did see an episode of last year. Safi made me watch an episode of that. And, I would watch the rest of the series, but I don't know. I have so much crap to watch, so much stuff. I hardly have any free time to watch anything I want to watch, to be truthful. And I'm making my own movie at the same time, which makes it even harder. So she auditioned for that, and this producer, he said, no, I'm going to train you for 2 years to prepare you to be in films, and then I'm going to put you in this Eye of the Devil movie. I mean, is that just about the most obvious initiation into the occultic Hollywood retard land that you can get. I mean, you cannot get any more clear than that. Like, you would literally have to have a celebrity come out and say in a news article, in a newspaper, and oh shit, we have an Amazon Prime delivery. Oh no. Oh no. Oh God. I'm gonna have to take another break. Sorry guys, but I hope that is the last time I have to come back to doing this video. It's almost like this video is cursed, because I've been talking about this disgusting spell, this evil, dark, disgusting spell. It's almost like now this video is cursed too. Like, you just can't get away from this stuff. This stuff, that's part of the reason why these people, why they're so dumb, is because they really don't know what they're dealing with. Like, no matter how much they think and they pretend to know, they don't really know what they're actually dealing with. And so, it's the same thing with this video, I guess. So, but she was trained for 2 years. She was prepared. She was taking classes all day long, all night long. Like, she basically had nothing else to do but do work so that she could prepare to be the star that she became. And one of the things that you could tell why these people, or not why, but that these people in general, you could tell that they were lying. You could tell that this was not a movie, is because in the behind the scenes, they said it was, the behind the scenes was actually even creepier than the movie. Because you could really see this disgusting display of initiating this poor girl into this world of evil, degenerate losers. And you could see like how they bewitched her and how they really tricked her, and they put her in this position so that then they could do what they did to her in the end. And so you can really see how evil these people truly are. Because if they did it to her, they could do it to anybody. They could pick any person off the street and say, hey, do you want to be a movie star? And then they initiate you, and then you're stuck in that world, and then you're killed. That's the life that these people deal with. All these people, just think about all the strange, mysterious deaths in Hollywood. Just think about that kid, Hell's House. Remember that Hell's House movie with that kid and Tom Sawyer, and how he was in a car, his whole family got killed. And the only survivor was like another kid in the car with him who was also an actor, and he ended up being Uncle Fester in the Addams Family, or the Munsters, whatever. It was the Addams Family, I know, I know, I just haven't really seen those a lot, so I really don't want to pretend like I know a lot about them, but a lot of mysterious deaths in Hollywood, that's the thing, is that you really see the people in Hollywood who last long, those are the most evil people. Like, the people like, Harvey Weinstein, he's old as hell. Why is he still, he that's how you can tell these people are evil, because they're around still. They survive. And then everyone who is good and innocent and who isn't pure evil, sociopathic monsters like them, they die early, they die young, and they die mysteriously. Marilyn Monroe. And then they even called her, when this movie was made and it came out, what do they say? They say, she's the new Marilyn Monroe. Ooh, I wonder what that means. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that she's a goddess, she's an angel, and that she's an amazing actress in every way, shape, or form. It has to do with the fact that she is the new Marilyn, meaning she is going to be very popular, and then this society of retards, they're going to dispose of her. And so that was the real meaning of calling her that. And so this whole movie was made. This movie it was tailor-made around promoting her and around just introducing her into the world of Hollywood, painting her as this new up-and-coming movie star. And she was so good that, she did put in the work, and she did such a great job. And I can't wait to talk about her acting and to talk about just how good she was in this movie, because she was really the best part of the film by far. Like, I just would have rather have watched her the whole movie. Like, she's just so amazing, and she's so enchanting, and, every single time that she's on screen, your eyes are just frozen on the screen of just, like, watching this person. You can't believe she's even a person, because she's just such she's so enchanting with the way that every movement that she makes is just so perfect. She's so amazing. But the red flag, the biggest red flag, was in the special features. I mean, the most evil part of the special features was when they said, we were going to replace Sharon if she didn't cut it in 2 weeks. We gave her 2 weeks, and if she didn't do a good job, we were going to say bye-bye, and we were going to kick her by the curb. What a bunch of bullshit. And I'm calling it out right now, right here and right now. What a bunch of bullshit. What a bunch of overdramatic bullshit. You guys would never have cut her out of the film. She was the only person even considered for the role in the film. I mean, the role was made for her. They tailored this whole movie around her. I mean, the movie, that's the thing. That's the funny thing. The movie, when they get to the castle, you see her. You see this gliding shot of seeing her, and she sees them. And at the very, very, very end of the movie, what does the movie end with? You see a gliding shot, and you see her. This whole movie is practically devoted to Sharon and the occult, in terms of, like, not like as in like she was a part of it at this point, but she was going to be a part of it, which is what they made sure of with this movie. And so to even say that, like to even say out loud, we were going to get rid of her. It's like, God, you guys are a bunch of liars. You guys just lie straight to our faces in certain ways whenever it benefits you. And it's clear, like to say she was going to be replaced within 2 weeks. Like, really? Like, I swear, like, even in high school, I saw pictures of her in high school being crowned as the prom queen. And I'm sorry, but like, even in high school, she looked like a movie star. Even just a regular, normal, everyday person walking around, she had the movie star quality that no one has today. And so I'm sorry, but that whole thing about replacing her in 2 weeks, I'm going to call bullshit. You guys wanted this movie. You wanted this spell to be all about her, and that's what the movie ended up being. The spell ended up being all about her, and the special features, why don't you just have a normal special features like everyone else? No. You don't have a normal behind-the-scenes documentary saying, Eye of the Devil, behind the scenes. No, you have a featurette called All Eyes on Sharon. All Eyes on Sharon. I mean, God, it's right there in front of you. I mean, what do you need? What more do you need? Do you need someone to push you closer so that you can see the truth right there in front of you? I mean, that is how disgusting these people are, that they would rub this type of stuff in your face. So, another thing we want to talk about is how they bewitched her. How they manipulated her and put her into this film so that they could do this to her, so that they could put this spell on her with this film. Well, the number one thing that I would say, they talk about it in the special features, they show it right there in front of you. The star of the film, the Felipe, Mr. Mustache, Felipe, She was, apparently, he was her, like, number one celebrity crush growing up. She had plans to marry him. She really loved him and wanted to be with him because she just found him so charming and likable in films, which I gotta admit, like, I don't blame her. Like, he's cool. He's a cool guy. He's like, it's too bad that I can't cast him in a movie because he's just so good. He's so good. But the thing is that the fact that this is her first film and she gets to act with him, and you see he's walking her along, he's talking to her, he's talking about her and talking about how good she is and everything, and it's like you can see the disgusting, like the bewitching of her, of having it be where, like, you know what, we're gonna put you in a film with your number one celebrity crush. We're going to give everything to you. We're going to make this movie devoted to you. And then you're going to do things for us. And then you're going to be in this world whether you like it or not. That's what this movie was all about. And so I found that really disturbing. Just the using of, I don't know if he was a part of it, but the using of this figure that she looked up to as a younger woman, a younger girl, to use that figure to sort of to enchant her and to bring her into this world and to make her a part of this world of evil and disgusting retardation that you have with these people who have to sacrifice people so that they can get their grapes. Like, that's really how pathetic these people are, that they have to sacrifice people so that they can get their grapes. I mean, have you ever heard of an almanac? Have you ever heard of a farmer's almanac? Like, why don't you just fucking look at the farmer's almanac and you can, like, you can plant stuff when you need to plant stuff and everything. Like, I'm sorry, but, just look at the fucking almanac. Like, God, it's really not that hard. Like, I you know what? Like, I'll start a vineyard myself, and I'll show you people. Like, it's easy. It's not rocket science. And I'm not ever going to have to sacrifice someone so I can get some grapes in my vineyard. I already got some grapes growing outside my window. I could start a vineyard right now. In my own backyard. So something else to talk about that's very worth mentioning is that, the movie was originally supposed to be called 13, which I do think would have been a better title in terms of it would have fit the movie more. However, the title Eye of the Devil is just a better title in general, and so I don't blame them for switching that title, because then it also has to do with All Eyes on Sharon. Because here's the thing, there's never any Eye of the Devil in the film. I mean, they don't explicitly say, there's like a necklace in the movie, and the necklace it looks like the planet Saturn. That's another bad thing, bad juju with that necklace. But they never come out and say that, like, that's the Eye of the Devil. This is the devil necklace. It's the necklace we use to get whatever we want. They never say it. It's just sort of implied a little bit. Like, I don't know. So I wouldn't even say that was the quote-unquote Eye of the Devil. So there really is no Eye of the Devil in the film. It really has to do with what's outside the film, for sure. But even though they call it Eye of the Devil, at the very end of the movie in the credits, because I did sit through the entire credits because I wanted to, I thought it did turn out really well. I really loved the last 30 minutes especially. I thought the movie was kind of like funny in terms of how the main character, she kept on like just staying at this place. She should have left a million times. And it was like they were letting her run around and just research the stuff they were doing. And it was very weird. It was like this dark impending doom of like they really genuinely did not care that she found out. And So I love the last 30 minutes, and I really did enjoy The Spell overall, though. Like, I did really think this was one of the best movies of the year, but that doesn't really change the fact that it's evil and that it's bad. You know, the same with, like, Rosemary's Baby. That movie, even more so, is evil, and, you know, even though it is pretty quote-unquote good, even though I really didn't enjoy it myself, it is an evil movie, and it was really not a movie, it was another spell. So, at the end of the credits, they don't have Eye of the Devil as the title. And let's be honest, like, was it really that hard to change the titles? Like, to change the ending credits? Like, was it really that difficult? Really? Like, is it really difficult? So difficult that you couldn't have gone in there and changed 13 to Eye of the Devil? Apparently it was too hard for these people, for these magicians. No. It was not too hard for these people in the slightest. They did it on purpose. You know, they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. And so, sorry, I'm going to take a drink. My throat's a little dry and it's good. It's hard to talk. This movie was called 13. They have 13 at the end of the ending credits. That's one of the last things that you see. Even after you saw Sharon at the end of the film, you saw her sitting there with her beautiful eyes looking over at you a little bit, which I was like, wow, what a pleasant sight to see at the end of any film. Like, just imagine if every film ended with her eyes just looking over at you, like, just wow. I would love every film that ever existed. I would call Captain Marvel a masterpiece. I would call fucking Promising Young Feminazi a masterpiece. I would call every single movie that ever existed a masterpiece if they ended with, you know, just a little glance over at me, like, just wow. Because it would never happen to me in real life. I would never get a glance like that over at me in real life. So I just have to have it some way in films. That's a part of the fun of the escapism of films, by the way, is that you go there to escape reality. You don't go there to have reality shoved in your face. But of course, these people, they love to shove their reality in your face. And so, but her last movie, I saw her last movie. It is also on YouTube, where I watched this movie so that I would not support it. I would not give any sort of energy to the people who were responsible for making the film, if they're still around. Her last movie was called 12+1. And so, right there. I mean, do I need to say anything more? Like, do I need to say anything more in terms of that? Like, that is really, really telling. 12+1. So her last movie is 13, and then her first movie is called 13. That's, I mean, it's right in front of you. Like, God, the truth is right there in front of you. And you just have to open your eyes, and you have to realize it, and then you can really know the truth that's right there in front of you. Okay, so the fact that her last movie ever is called 12+1, 13, and then her first movie was called 13, and they even have it at the end, that is just straight up telling you what the truth was, what the reality was with the whole making of, you know, oh. So, her performance in general, she played this sister. She was the sister of Christiane, the Dan Stevens bow and arrow creep sociopath. And she was very much somebody who was like a figure of temptation. Like, all the other people in the movie, it's like, okay, they're not convincing me to join anything. But she was the one who was sort of like the seductress character who, you know, she just has, I don't know how to even describe it. It's just this this presence that she has with this blonde hair and the piercing eyes, and the her voice is very beautiful as well. And she persuades you. She definitely makes you be like, maybe these people, they're pretty retarded, but maybe I should just join them anyway. And so her character is very much that. Like, you really don't know. It's hard to tell with her character, for sure, because for me, at least, I kind of thought that she was going to become good by the end. And so that was another thing, was I wonder what it was like in the book. I wonder if it was like in the book where it was kind of like a story arc. Because I might have to read the book to see if any more hints between the differences of the movie and the book. What are the differences? Because that will tell you more for sure about what happened with this spell. But you didn't. She had this, like, you kind of wondered, like, is she going to play along? Because there's this part where she was sort of tempting, she was hypnotizing the mother into basically jumping off the roof. I said roof. I don't know why I said roof. I'm getting tired. This review's already an hour and 30 minutes long. God. Maybe it's because I've repeated everything over and over and over again, but I don't think I'm just trying to be careful and conscious with all the words that I'm using, so that I don't say anything stupid or idiotic. Where was I? She was trying to tempt the mom to go off the roof after she had already been tempting the son to dangle his leg off the rooftop. And that was just, that scene was hard to watch. I do not like heights. And that scene was just, it made me so queasy and so uneasy, and like I was like having a really hard time with that scene. And she got whipped to hell by Felipe, and after that she says something that probably Sharon ended up believing herself in the coming 2 or 3 years after this movie. She said, "You all are a bunch of hypocrites. You're a bunch of losers. You're all mad. All of the men in your family, they're all the same. They're all a bunch of evil pieces of shit." And, she really told them off. And I was like, wow, like, I don't get it with this character. Like, who is she? Is she really a character, or are they, like, doing, like, a parallel to reality where they're kind of showing, maybe she had doubts about these people at first, or maybe she was never really fully going along with them, and so that's how they knew that they were going to do what they were going to do in the end. And of course, so she says that, and then there's parts in the movie where she looks over at the mother, and you think she's got to help the mom at some point. Like, I was just waiting for Sharon to do something badass, to like fucking take her eye of the devil, and then like a laser comes out of it and she like points it at fucking Christian, and then Christian's like, no, and then she points it at Donald Pleasance and he's like, no, like he is at the end of Halloween 5. Is that the one? Oh no, wait, no, Halloween 6. Remember at the end of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, where Donald Pleasance at the end, he's like, no! I can't remember which version, though. I really, really loved the producer's cut of Halloween 6. I think that might be the version where he's like, no! And it just ends with him crying out in pain, no! And so, and then I really expected her to do something, and I was like, this has to be some sort of a hint to reality, that they're sort of showing that her character, she's not really fully with them. I mean, I don't really even think any of the female characters in the film are. And so I think that would be another statement on sort of like the occult society. It's a very sexist society where like it's basically a big grown-up boys club, and I don't really think that women who are a part of this world, I don't think they're respected or anything. There was this really great scene in the movie, and so the last thing that I'll say though about Sharon is that every scene with hers was perfect. Like, she was so perfect in the movie, and to the point of where, I never do this, by the way, I never ever do what I'm about to tell you what I did. I turned off my phone while I watched this movie. And I know that's not like a monumental thing, but it's just to tell you how much I was enjoying the experience and how much I was enjoying this spell. Is that I turned off my phone just so that I could pay full attention, so that both of my eyes, not all of my eyes, but both of my eyes were on the film. Because I was receiving a couple of texts from certain parties. I know a painter in the Ukraine, and so she was messaging me, and she really wanted to talk to me, so I was like, oh shit, should I watch the movie later or what? I loved watching the movie when I did. So I really loved everything she did. She was so enchanting, and I loved her character. Her character and Christian, they were definitely the highlights of the film, along with the main two stars. And another similarity to Night of Dark Shadows is that at the end of the film, it actually ends in a very similar manner to Night of Dark Shadows, where, spoiler alert for Night of Dark Shadows, because Night of Dark Shadows is it's probably another spell, but it's a movie too. At the end of Night of Dark Shadows, the Quentin and Tracy, those are the main characters, they're about to leave Collingwood Manor forever. Or Collinwood, whatever the fuck. They're about to leave it forever because this house is evil. It's haunted by the spirit of a witch, Angelique, and so I don't want to get into talking about that movie now, but I really love that movie as well. That movie actually scares me. Like, that movie is frightening to watch for me, which I know will make some people laugh. At the end of that film, though, Quentin says, "Uh-oh, Tracy, I forgot my paintings. I forgot all of my paintings." And so he's a painter, by the way. A painter forgets his paintings. That just shows how much they wanted to get out of there. And he goes back into the house, and she's sitting out there for a long time, probably hours and hours. And that already just, that was so creepy. And so then she goes inside, and she sees, she's walking around, she sees his paintings, and then she sees him, and he's a zombie. And he has the look that he has when he is possessed by his evil ancestor, and it's basically implied that he kills her. And then we also see the spirit of Angelique, too, and she has now fully formed into a person, into like a full apparition that looks like a full person instead of just a hazy whatever. She's fully there. And so that ending was just terrifying. It was just so terrifying. Ugh. I have some memories from that movie as a kid for sure. But in Eye of the Devil, aka 13, the movie ends with the son saying, "Oh shit, I forgot my watch inside." And he runs inside, and I was like, wow, this is exactly like Night of Dark Shadows, to the point of where I think it was raining in both movies at the end. And he runs inside, and he goes to his room, and he sees something in his room. And then we look over, and it's Donald fucking Pleasance. And it's like, oh shit. The most evil character... the most evil character in the film, the leader of the whole retard group, he is sitting there waiting for the son to be in the room, and then the son walks over and to get his watch, and he sees the Eye of the Devil necklace sitting on the desk, and it was basically like a passing of the torch of like, your father died as a sacrifice, now you are going to be initiated into this world. And so then the kid kisses the necklace, and then he runs off and leaves. And that was such an incredible ending. It was so perfect. It was so haunting and so sad, like that this full circle has come to where now he is forever going to be under the influence of this necklace. You know, I mean, I would know a lot about items, you know, cursed items that have something in them, an energy in them or spirits in them, because I researched and I found out that when you touch an item like that, it affects you directly forever. And so that was the ending of this film, was him forever being influenced by this item. And very, very sad. And then, of course, after that, you see the lovely, beautiful Sharon sitting there watching them drive off. And then you see the pond where earlier in the movie she turned a toad into a dove. And yeah, weird. So I am not going to rate this movie in terms of food because, as I said before, this is not a movie. This is a spell. And I could probably do some research into what ended up happening and then go into the similarities in this movie and then in reality, but I really don't want to because I think that you guys should just do it for yourselves because it's all right there. I mean, these people, they spelled it out for you so clearly that they're basically just bragging to you. They're laughing in your face that they did this to this poor innocent woman and other innocent people who had nothing to do with anything. And so I'm disgusted by the people who made this movie. I'm disgusted by the fact that they lied and the fact that they took this person like just any other normal person and then they did this to her. And it wasn't just the one night where it happened. It was the process that led up to that one night that happened. And it all started with this movie. So anyways, I am so happy that I watched this and that I watched Sharon in her first film. I'm so happy to have seen her and to have seen her performance. It was so good. I can't wait to watch the next thing with her, Barabbas. I will go back and watch that and review it next month. So, please like this video, comment, tell me what you think about this horrible, disgusting spell of a film, and tell me if you guys know any other details that would be pertinent to my ongoing investigation into what really happened to this person who, you know, she's still very relevant to today because, let's just face it, all the actresses of today, they're nothing like her. And so when you talk about actresses of today, you talk about, you know, they all suck and they all lack the quality that this one has. And so you go back and you think, what was the true quality that all these actresses from back then had that all the ones nowadays don't? And even more so the movies themselves. You know, what qualities did these movies have that the movies nowadays don't? Because I give this movie, this was a perfect film. This was a perfect film. I have nothing bad to say about this as a movie. I do have something bad to say about it as what it really was, which is a spell. And so I wanted to make that perfectly clear. You know, I am not going to sit there and pretend, this movie's a bad movie because it's a bad spell. No, it was a perfect film. It was a masterpiece. It was a 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, A++++. I would totally watch it again. In fact, I probably will watch it again and again just to see Sharon's lovely performance. So please subscribe to our channel if you would like to be a part of Sharon Tate year. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.